and I'm not going to make a lot of it. Thank you, John. I want an alarm clock that does that. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. We're going to call the meeting to order. This is our meeting of December 18th, and obviously we've got some people here with us today in the audience. We usually don't get a lot. It's nice to get a lot. Love the round of applause. Everybody gets a raise for that. That's all staff for those watching in that did that. They must be looking for Christmas bonuses or something, Council. I don't know. The very first thing, obviously, for us today would be the adoption of the agenda, again, for the meeting of December 18th. I see one or two items in particular. This, obviously, will be the hard copy of the budget that will be tabled a little later, Deputy Mayor. Yes. You also have a revised invoices for approval, and my God, we've got a long list on that one today, about 35 of them. Those things are added. Are there any other things to add to the agenda before I call for a motion on acceptance? Councillor Aker? One item for planning. Is it actually in the iPad, or it is? Okay, that's we're going to add. It's a separate item in the Okay, it's separate on the Planning and Land Use Committee. Okay.
And Your Worship, we have a very small one for community services. It's just a change in date.
Change in date on community service. Okay. That being the case, I'll entertain a motion to accept. Moved by Councillor Ledwell and seconded by Councillor Tessier. All those in favor of the agenda as presented? Contrary minded, the motion on that is carried. Moving then to the agenda, the first item up would be the minutes and action report from our public council meeting of November 27th. I would entertain a motion to accept as presented. Moved by Councillor Stoyle, seconded by Deputy Mayor Locke. Are there any errors or omissions? We're dealing strictly with errors or omissions today on the meeting of November 27th. Errors or omissions? Are you telling me they got it all right?
They usually do.
Yeah, they usually do. All those in favor then? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Business arising from the minutes again of November 27th. If there's anything, would you please refer to it by item number? Going once. Going twice. All right, done. We're going to move along. The next item on the agenda will be proclamations and presentations. We have two today. Perhaps I should have mentioned that as well. We are also going to be doing a proclamation and we are going to be doing a presentation today. The first thing we're going to do would be the presentation, I think. This is a rather unique event. It is fair to say for the first time ever that's happened in this city's history that I am aware of. And there was a tremendous outreach community program conducted by staff, conducted by our management group, conducted by members of council, conducted by our union, to reach out and do something worthwhile in this holiday season that would have a positive impact on the community. And I think it is fair to say, despite the fact I couldn't be present today and I couldn't be in the band, nonetheless it went very, very well is my understanding. But I was asked if I would do the presentation, and I felt it appropriate that I not do that. I thought the folks that were actually involved in it should get a chance to do the presentation and talk about it. So with that in mind, I'm going to invite Councillor Aker, who may have been the leader of the band. I don't know.
No,
we were in big trouble there.
No, I can't take any credit for it, Your Worship.
Well, on this presentation, Councillor Aker, if you would be so kind.
This was an initiative, listen, Your Worship, charity rules at City Hall. That's all I got to say for
Amen.
Christmas 2012. And there's a special presentation to be made this evening. This was an initiative of the department, the Planning and Development Department staff. And I want to acknowledge many of the staff members and other members of city staff who are here this evening, basically, to join us for this presentation. The initial goal, Your Worship and Council, was to raise $200, raise the money for the Community Food Sharing Association. It started off basically as a small endeavor, and with the input of ideas, donations, the contributions of a lot of time in terms of practice and talent by the Planning and Development Department, the original idea grew to include a soup and chili lunch, a bake sale, a Planorama prize package, the band, which I was part of, and my colleagues, some of my colleagues on council, Councillors Walsh, Stoyles, and Ledwell, became known as the Planorama Band. And the pressure was on. And the show took place today, just the four of us. We had a quorum. There was even a visit from the Mummers. I'm not sure who they were, although some of the staff seemed to have slipped out and went to the bathroom, I guess, in the middle of it all. However, but again, I want to reiterate the enthusiasm with which the Planning and Development Department staff went at this They were all involved. Their effort was unbelievable, and as nice as I'd like to say as well to see council get involved. There were guitars, trumpet, a cornet, a viola, a violin, an accordion, and even jingle bells. And a great time was had by all.
What did you play?
My vocal cords.
You sang.
And that's as good as it got.
That's as good as it got.
Yeah. But when you're having this much fun and you're also raising money for a very good cause, the people ultimately who will be happy as a result of this endeavor are those less fortunate than us who will benefit from the food that will be purchased through this fundraiser. Special thanks to the Mount Pearl Municipal Workers Union, CUPE's Union 2099. They contributed $100 to the cause. To the City Social Club, who also made donations to the cause. Staff of the Finance Division, who made donations to the bake sale. And that's where the money is, the Finance Division, as we'll find out later on tonight. And, of course, to all the remaining staff and members of council who supported the event by buying tickets as well as buying bake sale items. Through the contributions and support of all, this grew from an initial goal of $200 up to a total amount. Congratulations, guys, $825. You did really, really well.
Really good. Good job.
So on behalf of staff, we have two members of our staff representing all of staff. Paula Foley, and Paula works in the Planning and Development Department, and Sherry Fitzpatrick. Sherry is going to represent QP Local 2099, and they're going to make the presentation. I'd like to also welcome and acknowledge Mr. Egg Walters of the Community Food Sharing Association, and if Paula and Sherry would come forward along with Egg, we'd like to make that presentation to you right now. Thank you very much.
I want you to come on up here in the front, guys. We're going to get a picture taken, and then we're going to invite Mr. Walters to say a few words. Now, guys, look at a camera.
We are so fortunate to have dedicated staff here at the City of Mount Pearl, and I hope the people in the city, the region, I should say, will enjoy the fruits of it.
Well, we certainly appreciate
Egg, if you would, I'm going to get you to come back here now and grab this. That's quite all right. You go right ahead now and address the...
I'd really like to say thank you to your worship, the councillors, city staff, and really all of the citizens of Mount Pearl, because you've all shown a great social conscience over the years in all the work that you've done. Special thank you to the Mount Pearl Lions Club for their Santa Claus parade, and to Scotiabank, your two branches at Scotiabank here, who matched the $2,700 that was collected during the parade.
Amazing.
And Scotiabank employees from the two Mount Pearl branches will be at our warehouse tomorrow night to help box and sort the product. So, and I see my good friend Bob Pike with Newfoundland Power, and Newfoundland Power does a lot for the food bank as well. So, thank you so much. And like you said, you know, it's a provincial organization. People as far north as Nain will eventually benefit from what you've done here today. So, thank you very much, and have a great Christmas to everyone. And you're looking great, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Egg, for all of that, including that. Egg Walters with the Community Food Sharing Association. Guys, everybody, a round of applause for good hard work. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Sherry. And Sherry, if you would you please pass along to the executive of 2099 how appreciative we are that all of our staff was able to participate in this and be a part of it. I think it's a wonderful thing, a wonderful gesture at Christmas time. But be warned, this stuff is very political. You know that. And you have set the bar tremendously high now. So 2013 is, good luck to you. Right? It's going to be fun. I got a feeling we're going to have to teach Dave Aker how to play a guitar. But the only talent you had there today was John Walsh. Am I correct on that, or what? I'm talking out of the council band. What did you do, my dear? Yeah. You conducted the orchestra. Yeah, that's like when I used to do volunteer hockey games. I was always the coach because I couldn't skate. Right, so I'll say no more than that. Congratulations, everybody. Very well done. And for all of you staff who are here after closing time, if you want, now is your chance to sneak out. Just going to let you know that. Have a great day, guys. Thank you. Staff with the stars. Yeah. And by the way, apparently Christmas Eve in the morning, us crowd of hooligans, we're getting fed by this staff. Some of whom are in this room with us still. My fear is they're the cooks. All right, we'll move on with the meeting then. We have one other item before we move into committee reports, and that is a resolution that we've been asked to consider by the FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Council, I believe, has been briefed on this extensively in the last several months, both by the Board of Directors of Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador, by the municipalities, the Urban Municipalities Committee as well. And I think everybody knows that we are in desperate need in this country of both a new fiscal arrangement here in the province for municipal government in Newfoundland and Labrador, but we are also desperately in need of a new fiscal arrangement, particularly as it relates to investment in municipal infrastructure that has generally been supported by, endorsed by, and encouraged by our federal government. The Canada Building Canada plan, which is the plan that we've been on for a couple of years now, is due to expire, and it will expire in March of 2014. Toward that end, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, our senior organization, is now actively engaged in a significant lobby in Ottawa to try and see to it that a new plan is put in place before the old plan actually expires. Most municipalities in the country consider this to be not just an important initiative. Some would classify it as urgent. Others define it as an emergency. I don't think we're in the emergency stage in this province, but certainly the urgent stage is where we are. To that end, we asked that they provide us with a draft of the resolution they would like us to consider. I believe the draft of that resolution is now in front of all of council. I am proposing, therefore, that we would read the therefores of this resolution into the record, that we would endorse it, and that we would furnish a copy both to our federal members of Parliament for St. John's East and St. John's South Mount Pearl, as well as to the federal ministries involved, as well as to the provincial minister of municipal and provincial affairs. Be it resolved that Council endorses the FCM campaign and urges the Minister of Transport, Infrastructure and Communities to work with FCM to ensure a new long-term infrastructure plan meets the core infrastructure needs of cities and communities in Canada. And be it further resolved that Council urges the Minister of Transport, Infrastructure and Communities to ensure that the new long-term plan is fully in place when existing plans expire in 2014. And with that, I am going to take a hard copy of it, affix my signature, and provide same before the end of the week with leave of council. I don't know if we need a motion. Everybody good with that? Okay. That being the case, I am now going to ask then for leave of council again. If we can, we've had a request, if we could, to juggle the agenda just a little, and that is to move our Planning and Land Use Committee up front today. And if I have the leave of council to do that, I'm going to ask that we move the Planning Committee to the forward. It's usually our last committee of the day, but given that our budget, I think, will be the last and major item of the day, I want to juggle this around. I see Mr. Pike from Newfoundland Power and others here. They have a definite concern, and he's here to do that. I can assure you Bob is here to do that. There's no doubt. But if we could, I'd ask of leave of council to do that. That being the case, then I'm going to call on Councillor Aker back on your feet again, Planning and Land Use Development. Sir, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll stick to the agenda. We will get to the piece very shortly on Topsail Road. First item for Council's consideration is 48 Bannister Street, where we have a company known as Performance Stability Rehabilitation Limited and G&A Properties, which to develop the former restaurant site here in the city square. The zoning basically is zoned city center, which is unique to the city hall area of the city. They want to develop the building as clinic space as well as office space. The main issue here is parking. And regarding parking in this zone, the requirements are, there's three options basically. We can grant an exemption for off-street parking. We can consider the available parking in the CEC area or the community center area, or we can request cash from the proponent, which would then be used to purchase or acquire additional parking. Typically, for this type of development, an exemption would be appropriate. The building is a former restaurant that operated there for years. It's been vacant for 2 or 3 years now. There was an application approved for a new restaurant at the site, and again, the parking was exempted, and now that one didn't go forward. And now we have a proposal for office and clinic space, and it seems appropriate where we're just redeveloping, making use of an existing building, that we would grant the exemption. Typically, the other two options, I think, for cash in lieu or consideration of additional parking somewhere else in the community, in the city center area, we would deploy those two options if it was a new development, basically. Okay. My motion is to exempt the development from the parking requirement, as well as to abide by conditions 2 to 5 you see listed in your kit, including an occupancy permit requirement, and I so move.
Moved by Councilor Aker and seconded by Councilor Ledwell. Questions or comments from members of council? Hearing none, we'll call it. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded?
Thank you.
Motion is carried.
Thank you. The next item is the purchase of a handheld GPS. I might want to make a note for council's benefit that this GPS unit is portable and is accurate to within 10 centimeters, which was the basic requirement in making this purchase. That requirement basically comes out a lot of what we're using these devices for more and more in the city, which is redevelopment, which means we have to do a lot more locating of infrastructure. The standard used years ago for these GPS devices were typically they had to be within a few meters. But now when it comes to redevelopment where existing buildings are side by side with infrastructure, it's very important to get this down to a very accurate level. So we'll be using it basically to locate existing infrastructure as well as update the accuracy of the city's maps and to support the city's asset management program or plan. There were 2 bids received. Now, one of the bidders, however, was disqualified as the spec did not meet the accuracy. The only bidder is Cancel Wade. The amount is $16,591.50, and it meets the requirement to be accurate to within 10 centimeters. And I'd like to ask council to approve this motion so we can purchase the GPS unit.
Moved, seconded by Councilor Ledwell. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Next 2 items, folks, are related to orders, rescinding of orders. I guess this is a good thing to do just before Christmas. 1073 Topsa Road is the first one. There was an order issued November 2nd, 2012 against Castor River Holdings. This is the former site of the Heavyweight Training Center, which we've had issues with, mostly about parking and congestion for the last 6 months. The building has now been vacated, and now it's in order. Basically, we're being advised by staff to rescind that order on account of the original parking deficiencies. And I so move.
Moved and seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried.
I'd like to note that Heavyweight is still staying within Mount Pearl. I think they're reopening somewhere in Donovan's, right? Yeah. The next order to rescind was dated March 20th, 2012, pertaining to 3 Becklin Road. The issue here was permitting and storage issues related to tire storage. This order is no longer required as the space where the tires were stored is now vacant, and my motion is to rescind the order against Principal Holdings, the order dated March 20th, 2012.
Moved and seconded. Questions? Comments? All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item relates to Mount Pearl Plan Amendment number 4, 2012, as well as Mount Pearl Development Permit Regulations Amendment number 10, 2012. And this is to allow the Ready Kilowatt Credit Union to develop the site on Topsa Road for a new building. This is a former bank site. I believe around 10 years ago there was a bank there. The bank was relocated. The building came down. I believe the owner of the property is Newfoundland Light and Power, and subsequently council made this part of the utility zone within the city. Now they're proposing, Ready Kilowatt is, that a portion of that land fronting Topsa Road be developed as the location of their credit union, And of course, then to change the municipal plan, we required a public hearing, which was chaired by Commissioner Stan Clinton. His report was issued on December 7th. He's recommending the council adopt the proposed changes. These changes would see the property designation change from utility to mixed use, as well as the zoning change from utility to commercial mixed. And if you look at the surrounding properties as you drive along Topsail Road, commercial mixed is what basically on both sides of the street in this area. So to change the frontage of this particular property to commercial mixed is very consistent with the surrounding properties. The commissioner further commented that access and egress were additional issues which council should consider, while also noting, though, that area residents, they live on a busy road with neighboring businesses. So it's not always, I guess, easy living in an area like Topsail Road, but this is typically what you do get in a transition zone where we have former residents still kicking around after being there for many, many years. Many of those lots along Topsail Road have been long developed as commercial. Right now, tonight, we're considering not the development application for the credit union. We're considering the zoning only, and I'd like to move we accept the commissioner's report and approve the amendments.
Moved and seconded. So what we still have to, once this has been done, is there a further application process that begins now with this? Because I am thinking in terms of impacts on the residents next door, and are there conditions and whatnot to be considered?
Yes, there are. The proponent will apply for, I guess, a formal application to develop the site. In the public hearing stage, as well as the briefing session stage, we had, along with the area residents, we had conversations with the architect. And what the architect has tried to do is keep that building as far back from Topsail Road so as not to impede the view, say, for example, coming out of the driveways of the nearby residents. They've tried to locate the building as far away from the businesses, in other words, as far away from the residents, which are to the west of this particular site. There's a business on the east of the site, so the architect has positioned the building away. In addition, a privacy fence will be provided.
Will be a requirement.
So when cars are coming and going, and keep in mind now, this is a credit union. The actual traffic will be mostly for the employees. A lot of people today do their banking, do that online, so they won't see a lot of customer traffic. It won't be in the nighttime. It'll be primarily in the daytime. The privacy fence should shield the nearby residents as best we can. I'm not saying it's optimal, but as best we can in terms of noise, light, and all that. So essentially, that's what's coming down the road. By approving the zoning at this point, Your Worship, this gives the department the authority then, within the confines of the proposal, as well as this amendment, to move ahead with the proposal, and I'd like to move it.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Walsh, a question or comment?
Well, just a comment, I guess, Your Worship. This is Topsail Road, after all, and the location of this was a location that was occupied at one time by a bank, and I think this is a very suitable location for the credit union. And I think, I don't believe there were any tremendous hurdles going through the process, and I don't see any moving forward either.
It has been moved and seconded by Councillor Edwell. Any other further question or comment before I call it? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And, Your Worship, the final item, which is outside the kit. No, I'm off track. I apologize. And let's stick with the plan. Development permits. The period November 26th to December 14th. Permits number 81 to 84 is in your kit, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Residential building permits for the period November 24th to the 14th in the amount of $472,400. And I might note that the cumulative number for residential this year is $32,593,576.
It's not bad, eh?
That's a good year, sir. That's a very good year, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Commercial building permits for the same period are $2,050,000, and I so move.
In fact, the total for the year commercial is $31 million.
Yes, it is, Your Worship.
Not a bad year either.
And the total value of all permits, commercial, public works, and residential, so far this year is $95 million. We're almost $100 million in activity this year. Hey, there's 2 weeks left.
There's 2 weeks. Spoken like an entrepreneur or an accountant. What is he? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
The next item, Your Worship, is the one that we brought in outside the regular agenda. It's a proposed change of use from light to general industry use at 30 Dundee Avenue. I believe the company's name is Heddle Marine Service Newfoundland and Labrador Incorporated.
Yes.
This is located within the the industrial light use zone, and the proposed use is a general industry use. This is a discretionary use for the city, and as such, basically, we had to go through our public consultation process. There was a briefing session scheduled for last night, or tonight. Tonight it was, I apologize. For tonight, we've received no feedback, no objections to this particular proposal going through, and I'd recommend council adopt the proposal, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Ludwell. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship.
And that concludes planning. Okay, we'll skip back now then to the top of the committee reports. The Public Works Committee will be next. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. If I black out, literally, but not me, my iPad has been doing that for the last 10 or 15 minutes. So I'll borrow yours if that would happen. You know, the best laid plans of mice and men. You know how it works.
It happens.
Your Worship, effective midnight on Sunday night, we brought on our full contingent of winter public works crews, and it couldn't have come in a more suitable time. Excuse me. As you know, on the 15th and 16th, or 16th and 17th, actually Saturday and Sunday, we had about 30 centimeters of snow, and I'll get into that in just a minute. We also took delivery of the new flyer. This is the 5th flyer in the fleet. These are a tremendous asset to the fleet, Your Worship, and members of council. Particularly lately, we've been extending the use of the flyers. These have a front blade, a wing blade, and of course are configured for the pre-wet salt discharge as well as the ordinary salt discharge. So that makes them a very flexible and diverse piece of equipment. And that, of course, is added to, I think I have it right, is it 18 loaders that we have? That's a lot of loaders to put on our streets when we have a snowfall. Of course, they get used for the heavier operations later in the winter, and of course they're also attached with the snow blowers later in the winter as well. So these units are all connected to our AVL system, so we can tell. Yeah, it just happened again. Thank you very much. He's pretty seamless, isn't it? If I hadn't brought attention to it, no one would have even noticed. Now I've got to turn it. Okay, so these are tied into our AVL system, Your Worship, so that we can tell things like the distance that's traveled, the spread rate in kilograms per kilometer of distance, the brine distribution and total distribution of salt, etc. So they're very, very good machines. One point I want to make, 2 points actually. First of all, with the winter here, the provincial slogan is "Snow means slow." We obviously want to underscore that, but really the cooperation of residents in making sure that the snow that we push back, particularly snow that we push back on the sidewalks, and we try to get the sidewalks and the main thoroughfares done, as you know. It's really important for residents when they're clearing their driveways to not put that snow back into the sidewalk or into the road area. It does happen from time to time. That's the one thing that we need to remind ourselves of. The second thing is, and I saw this, unfortunately, myself yesterday, the snow clearing regulations are not just in effect overnight. The snow clearing regulations are also in effect for so many hours after a snowfall, and for good reason. For example, yesterday I observed a loader coming down the street. There was a car parked on one side of the street and 2 vehicles on the other side, and the loader had to lift the blade, lift the side blade, turn in the driveway and go around. Now that street wasn't cleared, unfortunately, and that would leave us open to some criticism. The fact of the matter is this was about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the equipment just can't get through. So when possible and where possible, avoid parking on the streets during the winter. If you can get it in the driveway, I'm not talking about taking the car out to clear the driveway of snow and then put it back in, but generally speaking, avoid parking the car on the streets in the wintertime. It really does help our crews tremendously to do an effective and more efficient job clearing snow. The second thing, Your Worship, and I'll be very brief because our attention today is focused on the Deputy Mayor's budget, which we look forward to hearing very, very shortly. The household garbage collection, just some information. Residents are reminded that the garbage that's normally collected on Tuesday, which is Christmas Day, will be collected for next week on Monday. And the garbage that's normally collected on Boxing Day, Wednesday, will be collected on Thursday. So Tuesday's garbage collected on Monday, Wednesday's garbage collected on Thursday. If you need information, check the website at mountpearl.ca. Very easy to do, and we'd appreciate you doing that. A final reminder again, this has been a continuous and ongoing thing with our automated garbage cart system. With the snow, it's probably here to stay. When you have that little mountain of snow, if our forces are going throughout the city clearing snow, put the garbage containers behind that, and we have a 10-foot automated arm that can go in and reach behind the snowbank, get that and dump it. So put it there, and we will be able to get to it. And if you could, we would appreciate it very much if on the most level piece of property that you have, probably in your driveway, but if we can have it in a place where it's most level, the likelihood is that with winds and bad weather, the likelihood is that it won't tip over after it's empty. There's never a problem when they're filled, obviously, and very rarely are there problems even when they're empty, but that mitigates any risk of having that when it's later. That's it for me, Your Worship, and as I say, we're looking forward to the budget speech shortly. Thanks very much.
Thank you,
And
Councillor.
I want to thank my colleague for the use of his iPad.
Okay. What did he play today in the Planorama Band, by the way, Councillor Walsh? What did Councillor Ledwell play?
We all just sang. It was all about this.
Oh, you guys didn't have to play anything?
No, we didn't.
Because you actually can play.
I can play guitar, yeah, but we really play the fool well, and we did that
You played
extremely
the fool-
well.
you played the fool extremely
We
well.
did that really well today. But the staff were the musicians today, and they did a great job.
They did a good job. We are going to move on. Community Services Committee report. Councillor Tessier, you were a winner today.
I was a winner today.
But you weren't in the band.
I want to make it clear. I was not actually invited to be in Planorama, so what does that say?
Oh, my. Well, it hadn't been a hockey
We'll deal
game.
with that later.
Just saying.
Had it been a hockey game, you'd been a captain.
Oh, bring it on. Bring it on. Yes, I did. I won a basket today. We all supported this initiative and bought some tickets.
That's good.
And it was lovely. It was an exciting thing to tear open. Christmas came a little early.
That's great. All right.
Okay, the first item on our agenda are the Reed Community Center hours. As with many buildings during the holiday season, some of our hours are modified. We've got them listed here, and because we have the cameras here today, we will read them out. December 24th from 6 a.m. till 10:30 a.m. That's when we close, so it's just a morning. December 25th to 26th, we are closed. December 27th to the 28th, open from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. December 29th and 30th from 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. December 31st is our New Year's Eve party. January 1st, we are closed.
So does that mean on New Year's Eve they're closed?
I think it's opened. Yes, it is opened. Yes.
Okay.
So there is a party there, and on January 2nd from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., which is regular hours. So then we're right back to business. Yes. And the next item is the modification that I have outside of the kit, and it has to do with the swimming pool maintenance closure. The pool is going to cease operations as of 7 p.m. on Wednesday, December the 19th, and up to and including Friday, January the 11th, 2013, to facilitate the painting on the pool basin. And of course, we all know that the new facility is going to have a pool there, but this is actually essential and necessary to be done right now. It is going to be, I think, 18 months probably, or if not, well, up to before we see the new
It's
pool.
going to be 18 months and no more than 18 months.
That's right. So right now, this is
Tell 'em.
a necessary expenditure.
We hope.
So the pool is scheduled to reopen for use on Saturday, January the 12th, at which time they're going to resume with all regularly scheduled activities and staffing levels. And we want to thank, of course, the public and the user groups for their cooperation during this time. And in keeping with that, because the pool is going to be closed for those periods, registration will actually still take place on January 13th, 2013 for all open and online programs from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. And the programs are going to resume on January the 12th, 2013. The next item, the Family First Night celebrations, December 31st. I cannot believe we're talking about that already. The Family First Night celebrations are taking place at the Glacier on Monday, December 31st from 4 till 6. Families are invited to come to this free of charge event, and of course this is a dry event. This is a non-alcoholic event. There's going to be skating, party favors, refreshments, and family entertainment. Sonia Abbott is going to be there, Steve Collins, and Patrick Moran. Just a fabulous lineup, really. Children have to be accompanied by an adult. Helmets have to be worn by children who are 12 and under who are skating. And non-perishable food items are going to be accepted at the door. And we want to extend a special thank you to our sponsor for this event, which is Tim Hortons. And this is a really well-attended event. We've all been there. We all go there every year. And it's just a wonderful event to be a part of. Lots of little kids skating around, a whole lot of fun.
A lot of excitement.
Oh, it's a whole lot of fun. And you know what it's really good for? It's really good for families with small children who can't stay up till midnight. We have a countdown. They have a big celebration. They have a party. We have entertainment. So it really is a great way to bring in the new year, especially if you have smaller children.
We always have a great number of volunteers.
Absolutely. It's a great, great, great event. The 2013 Winter-Spring Activity Guide from the Community Services Department. Those activity guides are being delivered to Mount Pearl households beginning on December 19th. Winter-Spring. Already we're thinking about spring, and I'm okay with that. So we just want to let everybody know. And of course, we always like to get updates from our community groups and our sporting groups, and the Mount Pearl Marlins do a great job keeping us up to date with what they've been up to. So we want to extend congratulations to swimmers and coaches for a very successful meet in Carbonear on the weekend of December 1st. The meet was attended by clubs from all over the province, and the Mount Pearl Marlins actually took first place. Yeah, so we're really proud of them for doing that. We want to they're doing a great job. They really are. And we want to congratulate the top achievers for taking first, second, and third placements. And of course, some of the swimmers are going to a swim meet in Pointe Claire, Quebec this month as well. So we want to extend best wishes to them, as I know that they will absolutely make us proud. And that is it for community services.
Thank you, Councillor Tessier, very much. Economic Development, Communication, Tourism, Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Your Worship. We just have a couple of items. Request for advertising, and NOIA membership has requested advertising in their membership directory, and we're recommending a quarter of a page at $475, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Stoyles, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Questions? All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Also, Your Worship, Atlantic Business, one-sixth of a page advertising, and that's $1,150.
That one ain't cheap.
I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
The only other thing we have, Your Worship, is the talk about the number of new businesses that opened in Mount Pearl this past year. And over the past, we have, a package we have the past 5 years, and we've certainly had a steady growth of businesses within our community, and 2012 is no exception. We had 82 businesses opened up the doors in the city of Mount Pearl, creating 390 new jobs. And last year in 2011, there were 70 new businesses creating 536 new jobs. So wanted to say, great to see all the numbers of businesses coming to the city of Mount Pearl. 21% of those businesses are now home-based, so you can imagine how many people are actually working out their own homes. Even people from Service Canada and that are working out their own homes, and a lot of people like doing that as well. And of course, with Kenmount Business Park opened up there over a year ago, it's great to see all these new businesses open up here in the city of Mount Pearl, and our doors are always open for business, Your Worship. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much. That's Economic Development, Engineering Services, Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have 3 items on our slate this evening, and the first is I guess what we'll call a quarter pole update on our multiplex project that we've got ongoing up at the Pearlgate Centre there. Of course, this is the largest capital works project that's ever been undertaken in the history of the city of Mount Pearl. At a cost of $31.3 million, this is certainly a major undertaking, and I'm proud to report that certainly the construction is on schedule. We are indeed on pace to meet that 18-month time frame that you and Councillor Tessier were speaking of. In fact, we're 25% of the way there. We're a quarter of the way through this major undertaking, and certainly we're very happy to report that. Some of the ongoing work that is happening at this point include foundation work, the drilling of geothermal wells, and certainly the construction of the pool itself, which is a major part of the project, as well as the parking lots in the area. The next major milestone that we have happening is, of course, the delivery and the installation of the structural steel. The delivery of the steel is happening this week. and it's going to start looking much more like a building instead of a construction site, so that's going to be good to see. The facility, of course, is designed to LEED certification, which, of course, means that there's a lot of environmentally friendly aspects of the particular project. Currently, we've got 30 of our 48 geothermal wells that have been drilled. There are a total of 500 feet deep into the ground, each one of these wells. To date, engineering services staff have informed us that 4.6 kilometers worth of geothermal wells have been drilled at that site, and once we get them all done, all 48, we're going to be up to 7 kilometers into the ground for these geothermal wells, so that's a pretty interesting fact. Of course, the site remains pretty busy as we move into the winter season and we ramp up the construction, especially with the structural steel. We have up to 7 contractors on site at various points during the project, so it is a very busy construction site, and particularly as we move into the winter season. With winter coming up, of course, the Christmas season is just around the corner. Frosty Festival's happening in Mount Pearl. The area around the Reed Center and the glacier is going to be very busy. So we ask for the cooperation of our user groups and individuals from the public who are going to be using the facility. Certainly, they've exercised great patience to this point, and we ask that they continue to utilize that. It is a construction site. Safety is very important. And as a classic phrase that's used around here sometimes is a short-term pain for long-term gain, and that's truly what's happening right here. Of course, when the multiplex is constructed, it's going to be a state-of-the-art facility. We're looking at an 8-lane competition-sized swimming pool that's built to international standards. We have a brand new fitness center, as well as a large pool deck that's going to have a spectator balcony, a 2-lane lap pool, and a water slide for all the kids and perhaps even the big kids at heart. Of course, on our website, we have some updates that are periodically being shown. These are some of the pictures that you'll see on the big screens that have been taken by the webcam that we have had installed. Certainly, we see the progress happening, and you can click on our website at mountpearl.ca and see some of these pictures that are happening.
Jerry Antle's favorite shot right there, guys.
Jerry Antle's favorite shot, indeed.
The Director of Public Works and Infrastructure. I think. Did you take the picture by it? No? You've fallen in love with it, though. It is. I got to say, it is neat.
It is a neat-looking picture, and of course,
Yeah.
we've got a daytime picture there as well. You can see the pool is there on the
Looks
right-hand
like
side of the
Baghdad
screen.
in the first Gulf War.
Well, once the structural steel goes up, of course, it's going to look much better, and progress continues to be made. As well, I just want to let residents know that on the website currently, in addition to the photos, we have a quarterly update that residents can click on, read about some of the information that I've spoken about this evening, but also see a lot more detail there as well. So,
And, of course, we now have a camera, right?
We do.
Let's brag about the camera.
brag about the camera. It's taken these beautiful pictures that you see before
Every
you this
5
evening.
seconds or so or something, isn't it? How often does it update, the camera?
Roughly every, I think you're about right, roughly every 5 seconds. And what the plan is,
I'm not
as
sure.
we move
Is it
closer to
updates right
completion, we're going to put together a little video that's going to show, almost like a steady improvement. We're going to see the thing going
Time-lapse
up.
photography?
Exactly.
That's
So
gonna be great.
that's going to be quite interesting when the time comes.
I thought it was like every 5 seconds there's a picture that goes to the site. Is that not the case? I'm not sure. Mr. Silver?
The camera is taking a shot every 5 or 10 seconds or something like that. What we're doing is we're only pulling so many of the images up in a given day based on the changes that are happening on the site. It's still a relatively manual process to pull it from the camera and actually put it onto the website. So it won't change it. It won't change it.
Well, I wanted a live camera, so,
It'll be changed multiple times through the day. And the other thing we're going to do is that once we've got especially once the structural steel starts to go up, we're going to actually start to create some time-lapsed videos. So what you'll see all of the photographs put together, and you get more of an appreciation for the progress.
It's going to be fun. My God, we can be like children, look, can't we? That's going to be exciting. I did. I wanted the camera. I'm still a bit sooky. It's not a live one, but anyway, let's go on.
Let's move on. Yes, absolutely. Our second item this evening is again related to one of our facilities that's under construction, and that being the new softball building down at the Team Guzhou Recplex. You'll see that there's a lot of progress being made, members of council. You see that the deck posts have been installed for the front patio. The vapor barrier installation for the main floor is being installed. The gyprock for the main floor is now being installed over this next week or so, and the power is connected to the building by Newfoundland Power. So we're certainly making great progress. There's going to be some other work that's going to be happening in early 2013, including the paint and plastering of the floors, the window, door, and baseboard finishing work, and some of the kitchen cabinets and equipment in the kitchen will be installed. and certainly we're still on par, or on pace, I should say, to complete that work and have the building ready for occupancy in early 2013, certainly ready for the upcoming softball season. So we're very happy to report that this evening as well.
Yeah, that's the most important, I think, Councillor, is that when the fields become available this spring, that building become available at the same time now. And that looks like it's going to work out quite well.
It does, and certainly we want to acknowledge the men's softball league and the other groups that are involved with that facility. Certainly want to thank them for their patience, and certainly we're looking forward to seeing them playing down there this coming year.
Excellent.
The last item on our agenda this evening is to do with the Forest Avenue, some of the work that we're doing to help out our neighbours down there. Of course, two of the properties, I should say, that were acquired by the city. 29 Forest Avenue, the demolition of that property has now been completed, and at 32 the work is ongoing. So that's just an update for council for information purposes.
Thank you, sir, very much. That concludes your committee report.
Yes, it does.
We are now going to turn everything over to the chair of our Corporate Services Committee, Deputy Mayor Jim Locke. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. And
By the
Councillor
podium in front of you, you've got something to say today.
Councillor Ledwell just mentioned short-term pain for long-term gain. I'm going to tell you, I don't like to speak much, but my speech is a little longer than I normally would speak in council, so I'll forewarn you on that. But before we get to the good news, let's have a look first of all at the invoices for council approval. And there is a revised list there. The yellow page is outside. There were two invoices added, 35 in total, bringing the total invoices for approval to $2,663,758.20, and I so move.
It is moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Aker. I see here, Mr. Randall, just as a question to Mr. Randall, if I might, Deputy Mayor, for a second. Clearaway Contracting Limited are the people that are putting in the thermal plastic lines for us, and they're in now? Is that all done?
That was to do with the one intersection we had with
Yeah,
our
the
plows.
one we were doing.
That has been completed last summer, and it's...
Yeah,
it's
you know, you can't notice anything there, though, to tell you that it's different than anything else. Like,
Well, sorry.
I think if you do look at it, certainly there on the weekend when we were clearing snow, certainly when it's black with the salt application, you'll really see when you come up to that intersection, they're actually raised, those lines are, and you can actually see them. I found that they were glowing in the darkness there compared to the other paint that we have at the city intersections.
yeah.
It does make a difference to the nighttime, the perception of it, I think.
Yeah. And I've had comment from several residents. Mr. Antle and I were speaking beforehand, and yes, they are noticeable at that intersection. Especially in the nighttime when the roads are wet, they tend to stand out a little more. But the true test, Your Worship, is to see if they
Yeah, this is
last
actually
our-
about how
our
long are
first
they going to
winter.
survive, right?
Absolutely.
Are they worth the doing? Because they're expensive compared to, but if they last a longer. Anyway,
Well, if they can reduce collisions and, like I said, if they stay longer, that's the big complaint, that we lose sight of the lines.
so invoices for approval has been moved by the Deputy Mayor. It has been seconded by Councillor Aker. Any other questions or comments from anybody? If not, I will call it. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Now, Your Worship, for the budget speech.
Yes, sir.
Your Worship, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen, as Chair of the Corporate Services Committee, I'm very pleased and privileged to present today the City of Mount Pearl's 2013 budget. I would like to start by thanking Council and staff for their efforts and their contributions in the preparation of this budget. Many hours of hard work and healthy debate culminated into this budget, which we believe reflects continued fiscal responsibility, environmental progress, innovation, and improved services in all departments. Before outlining our budget for 2013, I would like to highlight some of our major accomplishments over the past year. 2012 has been a very exciting year of innovation and investment in the future of our community. We are very proud to outline some of our major accomplishments this year, and there are many. And these include completion of a study of our transit services, installation of our first of many planned pole-mounted school zone flashing speed displays to help with the traffic calming in high-risk areas. We see one, for example, on Mount Carson. upgrades to the basketball courts on Ruth Avenue, as well as to the Pearlgate Track and Field Complex. The long-anticipated start of construction of our brand new recreation multiplex. And Councillor Ledwell was just speaking to this, and as he indicated, it is currently just over 25% complete and also on schedule and on budget. 2012 saw the continuation of construction at the Team Guzhou Recreation Complex, including the completion of a new softball field, the completion of Phase 1 of the entrance and parking upgrades, and the commencement of construction of our new softball building. We saw the start of construction on a new dog park in the Powers Pond area, construction of a new parking lot to help with parking at Glacier and at the Pearlgate Track and Field Complex. Implementation of our new and innovative automated garbage collection system, which involved a retrofit of our garbage trucks with automated arms, training of our staff, and the purchase and delivery of 9,800 garbage carts across the city. In 2012, we continued contribution towards the Regional Riverhead Wastewater Treatment Facility, bringing our total contribution towards the construction of this facility to over $11 million. Committed investments in street and road upgrading of just over, again, $11 million. The continuation of our annual Waterford River cleanup, led by our Conservation Corps Green Team. The commencement of work with a developer that will ultimately lead to the construction of an affordable housing complex on Municipal Avenue. Implementation of a records and information management process and system. Continued work on a disaster recovery system. We saw continued investment in training and development of our strongest resource, our people, our staff. Ongoing partnership with the newly renamed Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce on many initiatives to help grow and develop the local business community. And I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the President, Deborah Feltham, and Bob Mitchell-Moore as well, and we met with these fine folks just prior to our meeting today, Your Worship, just to go over some details in the budget. We saw continued commercial growth in both Donovan's Business Park and the Kenmount Business Park, and continued residential growth in areas like Mount Carson Terrace, Pearl View, and the hillside off Black Marsh Road, as well as the Sundara condominium development on Black Marsh Road. As far as private development in our city in 2012, Your Worship, I am pleased to announce the city has again experienced tremendous growth in the level of construction in the city by private developers, with over $60 million invested in residential, commercial, and industrial construction. This is, of course, in addition to construction of municipal infrastructure such as the multiplex. As well, as Councillor Stoyles alluded to, approximately 84 new businesses opened up in the city in 2012, creating 392 new jobs. And Your Worship, we are thankful to all of our businesses, both big and small, for again making us a net importer of jobs in the region. And all of these accomplishments just serve to supplement the outstanding level of core services that we continue to offer our residents. We are constantly reevaluating our existing services, such as we recently did for our garbage collection program, and making continuous improvements and efforts to ensure our city of Mount Pearl continues to be a leader and an innovator in the provision of municipal services. Now, Your Worship, I would like to switch to focus to look forward to 2013, which will certainly be another outstanding year in the city of Mount Pearl. We came into our budget process this year knowing that our residents and businesses have received assessment notices that reflect substantial increases in their property values over the prior year. And we understand this causes many of our residents great concern over what this may mean for taxation levels. Again this year, we started by looking at the costs of running our operation, and we deliberated over potential expenditures of $50 million to run the city in 2013. In fact, prior to even looking at the city's expenditures, we were facing over $1 million in increased costs for regional services such as fire protection, water, and wastewater. Our budget deliberations focused on trimming expenditures and ensuring that important and significant capital projects are completed on a phased-in basis so that we could settle on a final expenditure budget for 2013 of just over $41.5 million. This translates into a reduction in mill rates, which will help offset the average assessment increase in the city. Your Worship, we are pleased to announce that we have reduced our residential property tax rate to 6.7 mils, and this is down from 9.25 mils. For an average home in Mount Pearl, which would currently be valued at around $220,000, and would have seen an average increase in assessed value of 45%, this translates into an increase of just $75 per year in property taxes, or just over $6 a month. We are very proud to say that we are able to continue to deliver the high level of services of our residents and our businesses come to expect, but are able to do so at a reasonable cost and have minimized the impact of rising expenditures on levels of taxation. Your Worship, there are, of course, components of our budget over which we have little control. In fact, almost 55% of our budget goes toward just two main expenditure categories. 21% of our budget, about $8.6 million, goes toward the cost of regional services, including fire protection, purchase of water, public transit, wastewater treatment, and waste management. These costs alone have increased more than $1 million over the past year, and once again, the City of Mount Pearl is committed to paying our fair share of this regional burden. 33% of our budget, about $13.8 million, is spent on wages and related mandatory payroll costs, and like all municipalities, Your Worship, these costs continue to rise each year, and we are proud to pay our employees fairly for the great work they do on behalf of the city, day in, day out, all year round. Another large expenditure category is that of building and replacing our municipal infrastructure. This spending is a little more controllable in that Council can choose between conflicting priorities. But nevertheless, the demands placed upon the city to address the infamous infrastructure deficit facing all municipalities across the country are high. At the start of our budgeting process, Council was faced with choosing amongst $35 million worth of equipment needs and capital works projects for 2013. In the end, in order to avoid increasing the city's debt load, $7.5 million in capital spending out of general revenue and gas tax revenues was approved. This contribution by our residents and citizens, along with the help of funding from other levels of government, will enable us next year to complete capital works, excluding the recreation multiplex, of just over $10.6 million. This includes $5 million in various street upgrading and improvements, along with enhancements to many of the city's outdoor recreational facilities that we are so admired for, including such things as Phase 2 of the upgrades to the entrance and parking areas at the Team Gushu Sports Complex on Smallwood Drive, linear walking trails and bridges, construction of a new minor baseball field, continued construction of a new dog park in the Powers Pond area, and Phase 1 of the St. David's redevelopment. We are also very proud to announce the beginning of a significant investment in the revitalization of the Donovan's Business Park. Our business community has spoken through the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce and has indicated that investment in roads and infrastructure is one of their key priorities. While we continue to invest in the citywide infrastructure, we are also committing to develop and implement a multi-year plan to improve our municipal infrastructure in Donovan's, which currently houses almost 400 businesses and almost 6,200 jobs. 2013 will see the start of this project through Phase 1 of our program to help address the concerns being raised and both repair and upgrade this important area of our city. Your Worship, while we do anticipate borrowing $15.75 million in 2013 to finance the costs of the multiplex construction, the remaining $10.6 million of investments in capital assets without having to borrow funds to be repaid by future generations is remarkable. The City of Mount Pearl in this budget will maintain a debt ratio of just under 6.5%, a sound fiscal position to be in, and one we specifically set out to achieve many years ago by adopting a pay-as-you-go philosophy in addressing our infrastructure needs. We believe this represents the optimal balance between prudent borrowing for larger projects while ensuring our debt ratio remains strong, positioning Mount Pearl well when considering future operational and infrastructure needs. What this means is that we are being truly proactive to avoid problems into the future. Your Worship, I would like to point out a few other important commitments that we have made recently and their impact on this budget. Firstly, as you know, a couple of years ago, we committed to embracing the concept of green technology in order to take a leadership role within the province in the protection of our environment. Our new multiplex, as Mr. Ledwell said, is also being constructed to LEED Silver standards. Presently, we have most of the geothermal wells drilled, which will help heat this facility. We also plan to transfer excess heat from the glacier to contribute to the heating of the new multiplex. These are just a few of the many green initiatives that will be incorporated into the construction of our multiplex. And as a side note, as was mentioned, if the public would like to see the progress of the construction, we now have a webcam mounted at the construction site, and as was said, it can be accessed at our website, www.mountpearl.ca.
My greatest achievement.
And we will use the images captured by this camera to create time-lapse videos in the near future, which will be regularly updated to show progress as this investment takes shape. Secondly, we now enter into our second year under our new corporate strategic plan. This plan helps to focus our efforts in the next 5 years towards enhanced governance, service delivery, employee engagement, and the age-friendliness of our city. We have set a number of specific goals consistent with this plan, and we continue to implement initiatives toward completing them. Council is again excited about the opportunity this will provide to strengthen our status as a progressive, independent city responsive to the needs of our citizens. We have also committed to continue many of the economic development initiatives which we began in 2012 and would like to build further on our strong relationship with the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. While the Chamber of Commerce has indicated to us that the majority of businesses are, quote, satisfied that the city has done enough to increase business, close quote, we have listened to their suggestions and are committed to continuing business development initiatives. This is evident through our continued commitment to try to stimulate redevelopment and investment in certain key areas of Mount Pearl, again as identified by our community, our business community, such as Commonwealth Avenue and Topsail Road. Further, the Chamber of Commerce has indicated its desire for a new hotel for Mount Pearl, and we fully agree and we are committed to making this happen. Other items worthy of mention in this budget, Your Worship, include the continued financial support that we provide, totaling $700,000 to our youth, our aging adults, and other groups, such as Frosty Festival, City Days, the Mount Pearl Sport Alliance, the Glacier Arenas, Admiralty House, our local Chamber of Commerce, the Seniors Independence Group, and many more. The Senior Citizens 20% property tax discount will continue for those in need, and an interest exemption will be available to all senior citizens who remain current with their tax payments. We have amended our interest exemption and our tax deferral policy for low-income earners by increasing the threshold for those who qualify from an annual income of $30,000 up to $40,000, recognizing the increased pressures that many of our residents are facing. The exemption from payment of business tax will continue to all operators of daycares and personal care homes within the city. This tax break hopefully allows these operators to continue to spend a little more on the services they provide in looking after our loved ones. And we are pleased to be able to extend this exemption. Your Worship, after determining the operating costs of running our city and choosing a responsible level of capital spending for 2013, the city's expenditure budget for 2013 is $41,510,831. As always, Council considered all avenues available to fund these expenses. A modest but steady amount of growth in our tax base provided some additional revenues to offset the increased costs we were facing. While inflationary pressures result in increased costs for many of our daily operations, we have lowered our mill rates to help offset the assessment increases being faced by the residents and businesses of our fine city, which makes living and doing business in Mount Pearl not only desirable, but also more affordable. This is truly a balance between continued investment in providing the highest level of service possible to our residents and businesses, and ensuring that we maintain fiscal responsibility and truly delivering value for every tax dollar paid by our residents and business owners. As I have already outlined, we have reduced our residential property rate to 6.7 mils. We have also adjusted our commercial property rate to 12 mils. And we are pleased to be able to announce that we are able to maintain our rates for water and wastewater at the 2012 level. Finally, as I have indicated, we have introduced a new and innovative automated waste collection system to the city. And to fund this program, we are introducing an annual fee of $20 per cart for residential taxpayers. Now, Your Worship, as required by legislation, I am pleased to move the following motions. Be it resolved that the City of Mount Pearl, in accordance with the City of Mount Pearl Act, establish the following tax rates for 2013 taxation year, and these are outlined within, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded by Councillor Aker. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded, motion carried.
Next, Your Worship, be it resolved that the City of Mount Pearl, in accordance with the City of Mount Pearl Act, approve the attached schedule of rates and fees to take effect January the 1st, 2013, and I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Aker. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
Be it resolved that the City of Mount Pearl, in accordance with the City of Mount Pearl Act, approve an annual rate of interest of 10% to be levied on all past due taxes and accounts receivable, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried.
And be it resolved that the City of Mount Pearl, in accordance with the City of Mount Pearl Act, approve the 2013 budget with operating revenues and expenditures totaling $41,510,831, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded. Before I call the question, obviously, I'm going to invite comments from council and others. Let me, first of all, take a moment, Deputy Mayor, to say to you, to the members of our Finance Committee, and to our Finance Department itself, our Corporate Services Department, that they've done a wonderful job in balancing off, as you referred to it in your speech, the competing priorities that exist within the city, as well as within council. We all have our little dream projects we want to get done, and we're going to have to hang around to get some of them done. It's going to take a while.
Yep.
But I do think, I believe, I hope that our residents will look at this and view it as a very positive outcome, a smart budget, handled well. And I know the amount of work that went into this. This has been a difficult budget year because the assessments were so high.
Indeed.
And I know the committee and I know staff put in many more hours than would normally have been the case doing a budget in the time that I've been here. So I want to first of all thank you for that service and congratulate you on what I believe is a job well done, which is why I'm going to be encouraging council to support this budget.
Thank you. And thanks to the staff.
Having said that, I'm going to invite members of council if they have a comment. Did you have another thing you wanted to say first? Because I'm going to let you close this off after. Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Worship. I certainly stand in support of the budget, but one of the things I didn't see in the budget or didn't hear in the budget was when we talked about the assessed values and that we didn't talk about how many homes was actually going up. I thought when we did the budget meetings and everything, there was, I think it was 16-17% that wasn't going to get an increase at all, and then there was a percentage that was going to get an increase. I thought we had all that together in the budget, and I don't have the figures here in front of me today
I don't
because
either.
we just got this today when we came in, but I was thinking that those numbers were going to be indicated in the budget, because when we lowered the mill rate, as we just did, there was, and when you lower a mill rate, you know, you got to do it balance and try and, you know, it's hard to please, and not hard to please, but it's hard to balance it out for everybody. And of course, some properties in the city went up by 100%, and others properties was only maybe 30%. And to my understanding, this time around, and you know, listen to what was said, you know, around the budget table, that a large number of townhouses and homes that were low valued, but the assessed value was high, because if they were selling their home, they were certainly selling it for well over $200,000, and a lot of them were only valued at $110,000. So that put the value rate of their home up, which if they were going to sell their home, they'd be certainly looking to get the higher, you know, as much money as they could for their home. So I wanted to mention that, and maybe the Deputy Mayor might have some figures there. But I also wanted to mention that the Municipal Assessment Agency is always willing to come and view anybody's file for free at any time without charge, and there's a number, and the number is 724-1532, or they can contact our office, and we can certainly provide them with the number and the assessor in the area, because the Municipal Assessment Agency has always tried to do good education around how they assess properties, and they developed a number of guidelines and books that will help residents understand how they assess their properties. And just a couple of weeks ago, I attended a full day session with the agency, and they have a booklet for anybody who's interested in receiving the booklet. Of course, they're not going to send them out to every property, but if anybody would like to receive a copy of this booklet, they can get it here at City Hall, or they can contact the Municipal Assessment Agency. And of course, the annual report, which wasn't released at the convention, was sent to every municipality in the province, and that's here for anybody to view as well. And again, I will say that anybody, you know, when they receive their tax bill, I mean, they already got their assessments, and of course the appeal date is gone by, because everybody had their 30 days. But the agency is quite willing, if they feels that they made a mistake with your assessment, or if you feel is way too high, because sometimes you don't think of that until you get your actual tax bill in January, and you get it, and you say, oh my God, what happened? But the assessment agency and the assessor is quite willing to speak to you, look at your file, and talk to each individual resident, whether it's in Mount Pearl or in Beattyford. They will go and meet with any, you know, resident, or talk to them on the phone if they're outside the city, and they will meet with anybody in the province that where they do their assessments. But I would wondering if we have that outline of that I had asked about in the beginning. Thank you, Your Worship.
Well, Your Worship, given the nature of our mill rate and the fact that assessments varied across some houses, and Councillor Stoltz is quite correct, some houses saw, you know, an increase in their assessed values as low as 25, 27%. Some others saw it in excess of 100%. And but there was few and far between of the excessive ones. And again, we can't control that. By us rolling the mill rate back as we did, there was no way we could have, you know, affected everyone equally by doing that. And we can't control that. And for the extreme cases, in some cases it may be that 3 years ago their properties, you know, were assessed lower than what the market value was. So in this case, you know, the increase or the spike in some of these assessed values may actually be perceived as a sort of a correction as to what it was like 3 years ago. So, but if anybody, you know, wishes those specific facts or details, by all means they can contact City Hall here, and we'll be happy to provide them with those.
Any other question or we should point out Councillor Stoyles is in a conflict of interest. She serves on the Municipal Assessment Board. That's why she has all this information piled up in front of her. Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to sort of rise in chambers today to congratulate the Deputy Mayor, the Corporate Services Committee, certainly all of the remainder of Council and staff on what we would classify certainly, as was said in the budget speech, as a remarkable job. This has been a very difficult year budget-wise, as you referenced, Your Worship. Certainly we had the municipal assessments for the residents. Certainly people saw a lot of increases. And we needed to sort of manage that against what was, I guess, priorities of the city. And I think as a whole, certainly the Deputy Mayor and his committee have certainly done a fine job of that. To be able to reduce both the commercial and the residential mill rates, but at the same time be able to keep up with a lot of the truly remarkable investments that we're putting forward in the year to come, be it the recreation multiplex or the update and the revitalization in Donovan's. This is a great achievement. So I certainly want to throw my support behind the Deputy Mayor and his committee and wish them a job well done.
Thank you. Any other question or comment? Any other comment? This side over here, that side over there. Hearing none. Deputy Mayor, any final comment before I call the question?
You summed it up. It was certainly a team effort, and you make reference all the time, Your Worship, to the Mount Pearl team. And it's not just the 7 members up here. We have fine staff, our senior staff, our directors, and all the way down through. And this, like I said, this was a particularly difficult year with the extraordinarily high assessments. It was long meetings, but again, the focus at every one of our meetings was at the welfare of our residents and our businesses, and to ensure that they were getting good bang for their buck. So I'm quite confident and pleased at the end of the day that this is a very balanced, fair budget. And I want to thank all my councillors and again the senior staff members for making my job much easier. That's it for me.
Thank you. I am going to keep you on your feet, I think, for a second, Deputy Mayor. Sorry, but this document I have here, this is going out to all of our citizens. Is that the case? What are we doing with this document I've got here? Well, where the money goes, where the money came from.
Is this being mailed out? It is online, for sure.
This whole thing is
on the
online.
website, yeah.
We have a
Okay,
taxpayer's notice that goes out, and the taxpayer's notice just has certain key things highlighted for the upcoming year. It would also reference the website for access to this document, which will be up on the website effective tomorrow.
But we are going to send this, right? In the bill?
Goes out every year.
Yeah.
It's been going out. This where the money comes from, where the money goes.
We're also gonna have the actual brochure available at City Hall for anybody who would like to pick up a copy.
Yeah, because I find that our residents in the years that have been doing this are really, the ones who pay attention to it. I mean, there's lots of people who don't pay much attention to this in great detail, but I find that those who pay attention to it, they really appreciate getting that. Because it is kind of self-explanatory. Okay, so this is the budget, here's the revenue, here's how you're spending it with them. That piece has been of invaluable service to us. And I would recommend that we not hesitate to send that out again as part of the bill structure in January. All right, all of that having been said and done, then I'm going to call the question. The question before us is approval of the 2013 municipal budget for the city of Mount Pearl. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded say nay. Motion is unanimously passed in the city of Mount Pearl. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corporate Services, for a job well done. That concludes your committee report?
That's it.
We are up to new business. At our last committee meeting, we started over here with Councillor Ledwell. I'm going to go to the other side today. Councillor Aker, we'll start with you.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and I too want to reiterate staff put a lot of long, hard work. I know Council spent some extra hours on it too, but especially Director Silver and his staff, as well as the CAO and all the other directors. Want to congratulate everybody for the effort that they put in, and taking us into the new year, which should ultimately turn out to be a very eventful year, being an election year, as well as I see the city still growing, and that doesn't come as any surprise to me. I want to make one other further comment as it pertained to the fundraising that was done here earlier on today. There was a fellow who was instrumental in getting the fundraising initiative done called Planorama, and he wanted no credit for it, but I want to turn your attention to Director Stefan Yevchuk, and you did a wonderful job allowing your staff to participate in...
Can he play any kind of an instrument?
He plays the accordion and
plays
the bells.
Accordion, does he? And can
But
he sing?
But he wanted no credit at all for.
Oh, he's saying yes, he can.
For the fundraising and the event, but he was instrumental. Pardon the pun. Instrumental in achieving that $825 goal.
Excellent.
Two other items, Your Worship. I just want to comment on the Mount Pearl Seniors Independence Group. They had their dinner and dance last Friday. It was probably the biggest attended dance I think that they've ever hosted. That's really after growing. They had a wonderful time, and I want to congratulate Shirley Boone, her executive, as well as Georgina Georgina Smith. Thank you, Short. In basically having a very good event, and from my family to all of your families, to everybody in the room, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
Councillor Tessier.
We'll keep it brief. I want to congratulate the Deputy Mayor on a great budget speech and presentation, very comprehensive to the residents of Mount Pearl. Thank the staff, of course, for all their hard work, because this is a line-by-line, arduous task, as we all know. And nobody's happier than us on this day at this time.
When it's done.
Yes. The children are going to be getting into school now on Friday, I believe, for the winter holiday or for the Christmas vacation. Please, please, please be mindful of them on the roads, especially where our roads are particularly slippery during these months. So please be mindful that they're there. Also be mindful of your pets. We're having cold nights. We're hearing stories in the news all the time about animals that are not being cared for properly. Please be mindful of them, especially on New Year's Eve when the fireworks are going off, because if your animals are anything like my dog, they are not very fussy.
No, they don't
Not
like it.
very fussy. So again, be mindful. And to echo Councillor Akers' sentiments from my family, to all of yours, and to everybody in Mount Pearl, very, very Merry Christmas and a wonderful, safe, and prosperous New Year.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
Just a couple here, Your Worship. Last weekend there was a food drive. Was it last weekend, Councillor Aker? Or 2 weekends ago? Week ago? Last weekend. Mount Pearl Minor Hockey coordinated a food drive throughout the city. I think they had about 150 hockey players canvass the community, and they brought all the collected food items to Mount Pearl Senior High School. And at the school there were a group of students, high school students, that were there to help organize the food. And the food was split between the two food banks in Mount Pearl, at St. Peter's and at Mary Queen of the World. They collected 10 to 12,000 items, and when we brought it over to the food bank, the lady there was very emotional and very thankful for that. So again, in the spirit of charity that we saw with our staff here in the planning department, we see it again in the larger community. So Councillor Aker and I were at the school as well, lifting some bags and helping deliver the food. But I also wanted to throw out some congratulations and special thanks to people that were involved. Mr. Dave Edney, he's with the Mount Pearl Minor Hockey Association, but he also is an employee of Staples. So he provided bags and boxes and stuff like that from Staples. Mr. Fred Hand, a very good friend of mine, he works with J.B. Hand and Sons out there on Topsail Road. He was involved with minor hockey his entire life. He had two boys come up through the system. He donated a truck to carry all the food items, and he also donated his full day to help collect the items and bring them out to the food banks. Also, I would like to mention Gonzo Bennett. He's the president of the Mount Pearl Minor Hockey Association. He played a big role as well in organizing this. And a teacher at Mount Pearl Senior High School, Ms. Tanya Edney, she did a lot of coordination from the school's perspective. So again, it was a great initiative. We also had cooperation from 3 stores, Sobeys, Dominion, and Coleman's. Students were stationed there, and the customers, as they entered, they provided the card, and many people donated on the way out. So it was certainly a great initiative all around. I just wanted to send kudos to all those people involved, and of course the parents and coaches that came out to actually drive the kids around. So it was a really heartwarming initiative, and I was delighted to be a part of that. Also, Councillor Tessier mentioned about the Marlins, and we like to honor these, and I only got information on this today. We had a notice today that the girls volleyball team at Mount Pearl Senior High School, they are 4A provincial champs. So that's the first banner that our school brought, Mount Pearl Senior High brought back. So they were pretty excited today. So I just want to throw kudos out to them. Councillor Aker mentioned the Seniors Independence Dinner, which was, again, a great event. And I'd also like to mention the Santa Claus Parade, because I don't think we've met since the Santa Claus Parade, and that was one of the biggest parades that I remember
Yep.
in my memory. The number of floats that were there and people along the way. So again, congratulations to, I know Gerald Coombs and the Lions play a major role in organizing that, and once again it went off without a hitch. So I just wanted to send a thank you out to those folks as well. And lastly, of course, I wish to extend Christmas greetings to all my friends and colleagues on council, as well as senior staff and all the staff and workers at the City of Mount Pearl, because they do make us proud. And I'd like to say that every chance I get to let them know just how valued they are. And again, to the viewers at home, very Merry Christmas and a great and prosperous, healthy 2013. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I too want to say to Deputy Mayor Locke, great job on his delivery to the budget. Great to see everybody coming together, and a lot of hard work from our staff always goes into all year, not only the time when we do the budget. So thank you to all the staff for doing such a great job. Your Worship, a couple of things I wanted to mention, a couple of events coming up in the new year actually, and the Church of the Good Shepherd does a dinner every year, an Attic Chair dinner, and this year it's going to be on January 26th at the Reed Centre, and tickets are available, of course, at the Church of the Good Shepherd, and St. Peter's Parish also is doing a New Year's Eve dance. I wanted to mention that there's tickets still available for both those. Of course, the hockey does their dance, the hockey moms and dads does their dance at New Year's Eve at the Reed Centre. Also, Your Worship, I wanted to pass on sympathy to several of our staff who've lost loved ones the past couple of weeks.
Two, actually, isn't it?
Well, actually three. I know for sure, because Mr. Porter lost his father and Steve up at the depot, and of course Mrs. Butler is at the funeral home as we speak. Colleen's mother-in-law, Colleen Butler's mother-in-law, wanted to pass along our sympathy to all of those. It's a difficult time of year to lose a loved one, and our hearts and sympathies goes out and prayers goes out to the families. And also, Your Worship, I too want to wish all the staff and my colleagues a Merry Christmas, and of course especially to all the residents of Mount Pearl and to the residents of the province. Thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I just want to very quickly say thank you as well and congratulate all those who were involved in the preparation of the 2013 budget. To Deputy Mayor Locke in particular, of course, as Chair of Corporate Services, did a great job in leading and facilitating the budget discussions and also the delivery of that tonight. You know, we did manage, again, I think, to reduce our mill rate probably larger than anybody else. It's a larger reduction than anybody else in the city. And I have to say, while we all support that and are very proud of that, that doesn't come without a fairly significant price. We had all kinds of tremendous submissions from our various department heads for, fleet equipment and technology and improved services, operations, programming. Literally millions and millions of dollars of good programs and services that we would have liked to have done had to be curtailed and wait for another time. And we did that to be responsible and prudent, and I think, I hope certainly that the taxpayers of Mount Pearl will be the beneficiary of that and do appreciate it. I do want to commend and congratulate and thank the Mount Pearl Perilous Chamber of Commerce for their presence and support. I really do believe, and Council knows that I've been a very strong champion of this, I really do believe that we have to reconfirm our commitment to Donovan's Business Park. That is really a jewel in our city. There are businesses all throughout Mount Pearl, not just in Donovan's, but that park in particular is the largest business park in the province, and we really need to make that an extraordinary facility. It already is, but I think we need to recommit money, time, energy, and some real, genuine innovation to that, and that will go a long ways. And I'm sure the business operators in Mount Pearl in the long run, and all of us in general, will be the beneficiaries of that. Other than that, I just wanted to extend best wishes for the holiday season, a very Merry Christmas, and a peaceful and prosperous 2013 to one and all. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Ludwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. As my colleagues have done, I too want to wish other members of Council, certainly our staff, who make us so proud every day, and all of the residents of Mount Pearl a very Merry Christmas and a very prosperous 2013. There are two groups in particular that I do want to mention because they're a big part of the holiday season, I guess, for members of council, I guess, and members of our community as a whole as we go to all of the various functions. Certainly, as Councillor Aker mentioned, our Seniors Independence Group. I mean, to have 270 or 280 people at their Christmas celebration was certainly a wonderful night attended by most of the council. So I want to wish them specifically a very Merry Christmas and all the best for the new year. Also, Your Worship, you and I attended the Special Olympics Mount Pearl Christmas dinner on Saturday night, and I know that to be able to celebrate the season with all of those wonderful people certainly is a pleasure every year. They now have grown to over 160 athletes, and they certainly represent the the truest form of sport and fellowship. And I want to wish all of them a very Merry Christmas as well.
Thank you very much. Let me just echo what everyone else has said, Council. A very Merry Christmas to all of my colleagues. Deputy Mayor, again, a good job. In fact, the committees, all of our committees, our standing committees, all of you have done yeoman service this year and done outstanding work. I think the fact that we are truly a pearl in the region, if I could be so bold, is a direct result that we actually do have some of the most creative and innovative people both in our employ and on our council. And that's not just in the senior staff that sits around this table with us and shares the burden of having us yell and cry every now and again. But the people who work for them are also working for us and for our city, and they deserve our appreciation and our thanks for the job that they do. And I hope our senior staff, despite we had an opportunity perhaps a little bit at the beginning of the meeting tonight to have passed on that thank you personally, hopefully we'll get to do it before Christmas Eve and before we actually close down for the couple of days of the holiday season. Everybody, a great year. We won't be back now until 2013 itself arrives. I hope that we all have a good rest and a good time, and as they say, that we'll hit the decks a-running. We never stop in this city. I remember when we had the meetings out of town on building a new strategic plan and what should be in that plan. And I remember the 16 and a half hours of meetings. And that, by the way, in case you're wondering, is not an exaggeration. It was 16 and a half hours that we actually met over an afternoon and all of the next day to try and come up with not just a direction, but an implementation plan. We're going into, and I'm delighted you mentioned it in the budget year 2, of a plan that doesn't talk about growth in and of itself, but talks about continuous improvement. I hope and pray that all of us can enjoy personal continued improvement in 2013 and that our city will as well. Thank you to Rogers for taking the time to do this for us every year. We truly appreciate it. And on that note, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. It is moved by Councillor Aker. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.